Hello and welcome to Dugout Debrief. I'm your host, Chris Deluca. This is Boom Broadcasting's one, first, and only baseball-centric podcast, and we are back again after another break for the holidays. We celebrated Thanksgiving. I had a really good Thanksgiving, and I hope that you guys did as well. But even though it is the off season, even though that it is the early off season, there has still been a bunch of free agency moves already that we will be covering in the news segment as always. But today is our free agency sort of preview show. We're kind of covering the more marquee players. I mean, of course, there is a decent class of free agents this year. It's nothing compared to some of the really stronger ones of years previous, where you had guys like Juan Soto on the market, Shohei Ohtani on the market. But there are still some really big names here, such as Pete Alonso and Cody Bellinger, Kyle Schwarber. So we'll be talking about where I think they will be landing here. But we had a very major signing during the break here. We had Dylan Cease sign a contract with the Toronto Blue Jays. The Blue Jays locked down the arm for 7 years, $210 million. Really good signing for Toronto. Two-time top five Cy Young Award finishes. Struggled a little bit of late here in 2025, sort of 8-12 record. Again, records don't really say very much. This is also with a very weird Padres team, as we will be touching on later. 4.55 ERA and a league-leading 11.5 Ks per nine. As we all know, fans of Dugout Debrief, that is one of my favorite stats for starters, because it really shows the depth a pitcher can go into a game, as well as amount of strikeouts. If you don't get on base, you're not going to score runs, and strikeouts keep you off the base. So keep you off bases rather. So unless it's a closer, obviously, then Ks per nine is kind of not completely irrelevant, but not as relevant. He also had a 94 ERA plus and a league leading, I believe, or close to league leading 32 games started, is another stat that I really do like. He's kind of what guys like Logan Gilbert have. Has the ability to stay healthy, but he's not going to absolutely be amazing every single start. The Padres struggled with power in 2025. The Blue Jays have much better depth, and I think this will help. I think he's going to get a lot more run support. Blue Jays have a lot more power depth, most importantly. And this is a very insane rotation that we're about to see. I mean, we're about to have a rotation with Kevin Gausman, Shane Bieber, Dylan Cease, Trey Savage, and Jose Barrios, more than likely coming here. And Eric Lauer, too. Can't forget about him, former Milwaukee Brewer. In most definitely assuming this is some semblance of this rotation that we'll see in 2026 coming up, guys. I think this is a top three rotation. And you can put your opinion here in the comments. I most definitely think that's a top three rotation. Really fantastic, especially with the year that Gausman had, the year that Bieber had. I mean, the Blue Jays kind of did a highway robbery with that contract, unless he signs a major extension. But, after the holiday season, that's when we're going to see these contracts come in. That's why we're doing this here in the episodes here between Thanksgiving and Christmas. Moving on, another major deal. The Texas Rangers acquire Brandon Nimmo for Marcus Semien. And this was an interesting one because Marcus Semien, I definitely picture as a crucial part of that Texas Rangers World Series team that we saw just a few years ago. Brandon Nimmo was the heart and soul of the New York Mets because he saw them through their not great years, and he saw them through their years of spending a lot of money of late with Steve Cohen, who we will be talking a lot about, as you can probably assume, in the free agency preview. But it's a deal out of left field, so to speak, if you get my joke. Nimmo has been really good most of his career, one of the most consistent players out there, posting a positive WAR every single year. Career batting average matching that in 2026, it's 262. He increases power over the last three seasons, hitting 24, 23, and 25 home runs, 2023 to the present. For those wondering, Marcus Semien has also had a bounce back year in 2025 with a 3.3 WAR, 108 hits, 15 home runs, always struggled with the power. That is a thing that has been known about Marcus Semien since his days back in Oakland and a 230 batting average. Most importantly, another Gold Glove, I believe his second or third Gold Glove, which is really good because he was one of the worst defensive infielders just about 4 or 5 years ago with the A's. Now, really improved here in Texas, which was a really good thing to see. And his 2023, of course, was insane. If not for Ohtani, he would have won American League MVP, posting 122 runs, 185 hits, 100 RBI year, 126 OPS plus, and finished third. And again, I would love to see him be back in that MVP conversation once again. I most definitely believe that this is a good move for the Rangers, considering there is no more Adolis Garcia. So you have Brandon Nimmo. You have a guy who can be a cornerstone, who is, once again, because everything is far from Wyoming, he is the only current MLB player from Wyoming, and he is still far away from home because unless he maybe sort of plays for the Minnesota Twins, which that's still not close because there's no real team in that block of the country whatsoever in any professional sport, continues to be far away from home. But it's a very interesting, good interesting outfield when you have guys like Brandon Nimmo, Evan Carter, and Wyatt Langford out there. We're hoping that all of them can stay healthy and really get those Rangers back to where they were just a few years ago. I mean, that's the big thing with this too, is some people I saw on social media were saying, oh, they're trading Marcus Semien, this is them punting. I don't really necessarily think this is them punting. Just them being able to maintain a healthy pitching rotation with, I mean, especially DeGrom and Evaldi, that top two right there can definitely win them in American League West. So I don't think that this is them really doing that at all. I think it's just them moving on from a player who had a down year in 2025 by his comparison. And, again, Cohen's not playing around. So good move all around. For the Mets, I'm kind of assuming they're going to move on from Jeff McNeil, who has been one of their other cornerstone kind of guys out there in the outfield in the infield rather, to go put Marcus Semien at second base. I like the move. It puts in another average bat. There's a lot of power there. It's not super balanced in Queens. So I think Marcus Semien will work out there, and I think Brandon Nimmo will also work out in Arlington. Another big move here this past week, Devin Williams signs a 3-year, $51 million deal with the New York Mets. We're going to be saying that name a lot this program, guys. He did struggle early in 2025 in his Mets career, posting a 0.3 WAR, 4.79 ERA, 6 losses, but he was one of the best relievers toward the end of the year. Don't let those stats fool you. I'm surprised by the amount, but I'm not at the same time, because I do definitely think he lowered his value going into 2026. But I think the Mets are wanting to move on from Edwin Diaz. I did hear a couple sources saying this does not necessarily discount Edwin Diaz coming back. I personally think it does. I don't think Edwin Diaz wants to be in the same. I don't think either one of them want to be a setup man. I think each one of them want to be the guy. So Diaz having the capability to be one of the best starters, or one of the best closers in the league. Bullpen was a problem for the Mets, so I think they're addressing it. And I don't hate the move at all. He definitely bounced back later on in the year. So very good move overall. And another closer going off the board here is Ryan Helsley signs a 2-year deal worth $28 million with the Baltimore Orioles, another closer who had a step back in 2025. He had a really good 2024. He actually had a top 10 Cy Young finish in 2024, posting a 2.04 ERA and a league-leading 49 saves with a 1.10 whip. 2025 was a major step back compared to that, posting a 0.9 WAR, almost a negative whole game, which is really bad for a closer, especially considering Helsley was moved to the Mets from St. Louis. The Cardinals not winning a lot of games, so that could definitely be a reflection, but a 7.20 ERA with the New York Mets. Baltimore addressed their biggest problem, second biggest problem behind the starting rotation, which is the bullpen. Both are probably equally as bad, but the starters, who gets the ball first? Let's just hope Felix Bautista can get healthy this year. That's a big thing we're hoping for. So he can be a good setup guy for Bautista. Bautista has the capability to be a top 2, if not a number 1 closer in the MLB, just if he could stay healthy. I mean, he is so fun to watch. I really hope I get the opportunity to see him play in person. You know how much I love watching electric pitchers play. Boston Red Sox making an interesting deal. They acquired Sonny Gray for Richard Fitz and Brandon Clark. Sonny Gray, again, kind of one of those more just consistent guys, not to the level of Brandon Nimmo of his level, but, for Nimmo offensively, but a consistent guy. 1.4 WAR, 4.28 ERA, 3.39 FIP, 10 Ks per 9. Always love that. And a 96 ERA plus. Remaining that career consistency here in 2025. Boston needed another arm to complement guys like Garrett Crochet. Boston really coming closer than I think a lot of people expected to making a run. Obviously, their division rival, overall biggest rivals, the New York Mets, or New York Yankees played a factor. Jason's going to hate me for saying that, but we're not doing a re-record. Brandon Clark is Boston's 5th ranked prospect. And Fitz is also a left-handed pitcher. So, getting prospects, St. Louis definitely needing youth depth. They do not have a very good farm system. They haven't for quite some time, but definitely needing some up-and-coming players. And the Toronto Blue Jays signed Cody Pounce to a 3-year, $30 million deal. And this guy has not played since like 2022, 2023, but he has been electric in the KBO. He played in Japan. Now he's in the KBO. Went 17-1 with a 1.89 ERA and 12.6 Ks per 9. This guy had an incredible year. He broke multiple records in the KBO. And I think that, that might translate over. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. But if you watch this guy's film, his breaking ball is insane. I think the Blue Jays going for this guy was a really good move. Cedric Mullins signs a 1-year deal with the Tampa Bay Rays, and he had a 2.16 ERA, 17 home runs, 59 RBIs in 2025 with the Mets. And I think it's a good move. I think it's a good move adding depth to that outfield that really needs it. Again, a very young outfield with the Tampa Bay Rays. Chandler Simpson and Richie Palacios, both up and coming guys. Simpson, especially, projected to be very, very good. Did not have a very good 2025. But I think adding a guy like Cedric Mullins, adding that veteran presence out there will definitely be a good move. And then finally, big move that I personally really like. Alek Manoah signs with Los Angeles Angels on a 1-year, $195 million contract. He's a WVU guy. Obviously, got WVU shirt today, rocking that just for Alek Manoah signing with the Angels. I just want to be back in the league, and I know I'm biased, but he had a great beginning to his career. He had a great college career. He was one of the best college pitchers that I've got to see personally, and I hope that just adds. I hope that his ability to rejoin a rotation, that's all I care about. Obviously, the Blue Jays rotation, even if he was still there, is completely unrealistic for him at this point because it is so crowded. He would be lucky if he had a bullpen role. I know the work ethic stuff has been a question with him, but with a ridiculously bad Angels rotation, I could definitely see him getting an opportunity to start in the major leagues, be a number 2 starter. And if he can have a good year there in a 1-year deal, recover his career, and I would love to see him play for an even better team here going into the future. But hats off to Alek Manoah, WVU alumni. But after that major, 2 weeks worth of news, we're going to be moving on to the main topic of the day, which is where will these marquee free agents end up? Where will these big, really good players end up? There is a lot of them. So I picked a few of them here, and you can put more in the comments if you'd like to add them, or you can argue with me. But starting off, we're going to go start with Alex Bregman, who is one of the biggest talks of the 2025 to 2026 offseason. I have Alex Bregman going to the Houston Astros. I've had him going to the Astros actually since the beginning of last year when he signed the 1-year deal with the Boston Red Sox. Christian Walker had a solid year of 27 home runs, but they need more. And I don't think Christian Walker fits the Astros vibe. I don't think he fits I'm not going to say the work ethic, but I'm just going to I'm just going to say that they need to make a splash. The Astros desperately need to make a splash after missing the postseason for the first time in almost a decade. Alex Bregman, I think, could be the guy to really bring that team back together after a lot of guys had down years. I mean, they're sitting there. They lost a superstar with Kyle Tucker. They missed the playoffs in that first year without Tucker. Bring in Alex Bregman and see where that will get you. So Bregman to the Astros. Next, I have another team that needs to make a splash despite doing a lot better than they did, than the Astros did. I have Pete Alonso, and I have him going to the Chicago Cubs. Some people are talking about going back to the Mets, but I think that Cohen is looking to spend money elsewhere, and I have him going for other first basemen, which we will cover here shortly, actually, in the next guy. Michael Busch had a really, really good year, but I think the team needs to make just a splash offensively to really get over the hump. Pete Alonso, I think, will stay in the National League. So, yeah. Overall, with the Cubs, they really need to add just more power. They need to add more power, and they really, really just need to make sure that Imanaga stays healthy, Justin Steele stays healthy. With those two guys in a weak National League Central, especially with the Brewers potentially taking a step back, I think Alonso could push them over, make them win that division once again, where we all had them last year. But moving into where I was going with that, I have Cohen in the Mets. I have them going for Cody Bellinger. I have another guy jumping from the Bronx to Queens. There has been a bunch of them recently. Obviously, Juan Soto, Devin Williams, and I have the Yankees fans' worst nightmare in this. I have Cody Bellinger also following them. Sorry, Jason, to say that. The outfield needs more depth. I mean, there is some good guys like Tyrone Taylor out there, but Juan Soto needs some help out there. Cohen is not messing around after missing the playoffs in the most embarrassing way, getting knocked out by your division rival Marlins and watching the Cincinnati Reds play in the playoffs over you. This is assuming that Pete Alonso does indeed leave. I have Bellinger staying at first and going to the Mets. JT Realmuto. This is one guy that is not talked about enough because he is one of the most consistent catchers in the MLB. And he's on, the only reason he's not anymore, he used to be with the Marlins, but now he's on a team where there's a lot of other guys like Bryce Harper and Kyle Schwarber. So I have JT Realmuto going to the Red Sox. I was close to having him go back to the Phillies, but Navarez didn't play that much. Connor Wong was not very good. And the Red Sox, again, need another bat. They need another superstar, especially if Bregman does depart. Realmuto is a great power hitting catcher, and I would love to see him with the Red Sox. I just think that's a fit. And again, if you don't agree with it, you can always argue. Another big marquee guy that I kind of push down here just to, not stack every good player at the top and, by comparison, great player at the bottom. In the middle, I have Kyle Tucker, and drum roll, please, I have Kyle Tucker going to the New York Mets. Kyle Tucker going to the Mets. They're continuing to add that outfield depth. They absolutely need it because, of course, as we're going to get to, or as we already got to, rather, Cedric Mullins leaving, rather, to go add more depth, Soto and Tucker. So Soto, Tucker, insane outfield right there. But they still need more pitching, so it doesn't really matter all that much because even if they did add Kyle Tucker, even if they do add everybody in the world, I still just don't see them being able to do anything when David Peterson is your number one pitcher and you're sending your second best pitcher, Kodai Senga, to AAA Syracuse. Luis Arraez, a guy I really have a soft spot for because I love contact hitters. Luis Arraez, I have him going to the Arizona Diamondbacks. I have him going to division rival Diamondbacks from San Diego. I mean, just an insanely good power hitter. One of the oddities that you'll see of a guy who just has average hitter, opposite, they're inverse. An insanely good average hitter, not a good power hitter. With Naylor gone for good in Seattle, I see him being able to stay at first base where he's played recently, where he's been comfortable with the Diamondbacks. So I would see Arraez going to the Diamondbacks. They're very much a team that goes for guys outside of that weird Jordan Montgomery deal. They normally go for guys who are not, who had a down year, guys who are not going to be big free agent names. A lot of people said that the Diamondbacks punted here at the deadline, getting rid of Merle Kelly. But I really, I really liked seeing them being able to stay in there outside of that 11, whatever they lost 11 out of their last 15 or something like that. They're able to stay in it. So hats off to them. But moving on to another Diamondback, Zach Gallen. I have him going to a wild card here. I have him going to the St. Louis Cardinals. He grew up a Cardinals fan. That was one of my first kind of logics there. But also, he had a down year in 2025, posting that 4.82 ERA. The St. Louis Cardinals, with Miles Michaelis being their number one starting pitcher, losing Sonny Gray. I could most definitely see them going for a guy like they always do. They're not going to pay a lot of money. They never pay a lot of money. They never want to, because the Cardinal way is to basically be a worse version of the Pittsburgh Steelers in the MLB, which is barely even possible. Give me Zach Gallen, though, turning his career around, rather, hopefully not getting injured, and hopefully posting. I would see him going a 2 or 3 year deal with the Cardinals. That would definitely work out. It's just if the Cardinals actually want to spend that money. Michael King, and this is a guy I might be biased of because I have Michael King going to the Dodgers. He was injured for most of 2025. He was fantastic when he wasn't injured. And the Padres were really dumb for not signing him long term. They did get my guy, Nick Pivetta, who I was very big on. That was my favorite free agency signing of the offseason, as we did when I talked about the Padres in our offseason episodes last year. The Dodgers always need an arm because someone will always go down. Especially if we're going to start moving away from Ohtani pitching. We'll kind of see where that goes. But I could see Michael King in a healthy year being probably number 2, number 3 in that Dodge rotation, with Kershaw retiring, especially Glasnow, often, unfortunately, for him being hurt. So I would love to see him jump in there and be a top 3, top 4 starter in that Dodger rotation. Adolis Garcia, I have him going to the Detroit Tigers, a buy low team for a great player historically, and is very early in his career, then kind of went down very quickly after that World Series. You're dealt with a lot of injuries this year. I have him joining a crowded outfield with Riley Green and Kerry Carpenter, especially with Carpenter's future uncertain. So is Skubal's future uncertain. I could see him getting a lower amount, though, like a 1 or 2 year deal in Detroit to go kind of add some more stability with that team. Second to last guy I will cover here is Pete Fairbanks. And you may not consider him a marquee free agent, but I personally do. And I also have him going to the Dodgers because he is one of the most underrated bullpen arms in the MLB, posting a 27 saves this year, 23 last year, very consistent, does not blow a lot of saves, a 145 ERA plus a 1.044 whip in 2025. I just want to see the Dodgers get bullpen arms, especially with Michael Kopech being more than likely on the way out. I want the Dodgers to go for a closer in some capacity, and this is the guy I want them to go for, because I want Tanner Scott to find somewhere else to go where he can get back to his San Diego Padre legacy, but I just don't want it to be with the Dodgers, because every time I saw Tanner Scott come in, I held my breath, and I don't want to have to do that again. Even though we did win the World Series, I'm very happy about. I don't want to have to do that again. The guy was left off the postseason roster. What does that say about him? So, yeah. Pete Fairbanks, replacement for Tanner Scott / Michael Kopech, closing out that Dodger bullpen. Then to close out this segment, I have probably the most marquee free agent, and I'm going to have a boring answer for it. That is the MVP and the National League runner-up, Kyle Schwarber, and I have him returning to the Philadelphia Phillies. All the fanfare, all of the words everywhere about him, all the different places he will, people are saying he would go. I think he had a fantastic year. I think he will test the market. I think he will be one of the last big names off the board. The problem is despite how fantastic of a year he had, posting 56 home runs in that MVP runner-up season in the National League, he's 32. And I think that he unfortunately is on the other side of his career. I definitely think he has the ability to have multiple good years, 2-3 good years left. The problem is he's going to want a long-term deal. And I think the Phillies are going to be willing to give him a 3 or 4 year deal. 32 by no means is not old by any means, but the problem is that I just don't see a lot of teams wanting to give long-term commitment to the DH. I really do think he's very good, and I think he's going to see a lot of success in Philadelphia but just staying there. I don't see him going to a team like the Cubs, who a lot of people have him going to, or the Dodgers, or the Mariners. I see him staying in Philadelphia, and I see the Phillies keeping that core for the most part together, losing Real Muto, as I have predicted as of right now. Who knows? Maybe they'll surprise me. But for now, Schwarber staying, Phillies keeping that core together, and that would be fantastic because I love seeing the Phillies and the Dodgers in the playoffs. I'm hoping that they get to play this coming postseason, assuming they both make it. So 2 weeks ago, who has the most MVPs in a single career? That was the question because Shohei Ohtani won his fourth, and that is Barry Bonds with 7. Barry Bonds has 7 MVPs in his career. And moving on to this week, who is the all-time current saves leader? We talked about a lot of closers in this program this week, more than I probably have in quite some times. I forgot to put up that ticker for the trivia question, but you get the point. Who is the current all-time saves leader? You can probably narrow it down between 2 guys or so. But this guy, I'll give you a hint, is a free agent, and I see him going to a team and signing a decent deal, more than likely a 1-year deal. I just didn't include him because I didn't want to give away the trivia question, or I just didn't want to put a million players on here. But with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I want to once again thank you for tuning into Dugout Debrief. I am once again grateful for being able to post about a sport that I love on a great up-and-coming YouTube channel, social media, everything Boom Broadcasting. I want to thank all the viewers and all my friends who tune in every single week. It is going to be a long off season, as it always is, but we have NFL content to get you through here. We have NBA content. We have WWE content. Obviously, John Cena approaching his retirement, so make sure to tune into the nightcap. Make sure to tune in to everything we have on this great channel. And again, I want to once again wish you a happy Thanksgiving. I hope that you enjoyed it. For my American viewers, enjoyed Thanksgiving, and preemptively I want to wish you a Merry Christmas, as we will be continuing to post through the holiday season, continuing to post through the off season. And here we go. I'm excited for 2026. I'm excited for this crazy free agency year.